Welcome to the weekly Health RX by Arvasi. I'm Dr. Avanti Kumar-Singh.
And I'm Dr. Tanmeet Sethi. We're physicians trained in modern medicine and experts in Ayurveda. And each Sunday, we cut through the noise with physician-led, science-backed prescriptions personalized to your biology.
From your hormones and gut to your circadian rhythm and nervous system, we'll help you take care of the systems that matter most so you can stop guessing and start feeling better. Finally, medicine that fits you. Hello and welcome. This is your weekly Health RX for the week of March 1st. I'm Dr. Avanti Kumar-Singh.
And I'm Dr. Tanmeet Sethi. And before we start, we're talking about mood still. This is week 3 of our series on mood. And we say this every week because it matters every week. But we're not pretending that this mood series is outside of what you're managing in the world right now. It's actually really about helping you manage how your body responds to the world so that you're not consumed by it. And that distinction between caring for and managing the world versus being consumed by it, that's what today's episode is all about. So over the last 2 weeks, you saw why your mood has shifted, that the brakes are worn, the thermostat might have become more sensitive, and you got your pattern interrupt protocol, something concrete to do when anxiety or irritability hit. But this week, we go to the source of what might be reactivating the cascade for so many of you right now. Today, we're talking about news, media, and scrolling and what they're doing to your nervous system.
I know I need this because this is definitely such a big source of anxiety for me and irritability, actually, because my pitta is getting fired up as well. So I really feel like we're talking to ourselves too today.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
need a reminder of this, right? Because here's the thing, let's sort of name something that a lot of us sort of are maybe, avoiding naming, that the scrolling, that the media is actually making us feel worse. But we do it anyway, right? Opening your phone just to check one more thing. And 30 minutes later, you've read about 6 different stressful things that are going on in the news in the world. Your chest is tight, your jaw is clenched, and you can't actually remember why you opened your phone in the first place. And, again, this is not a willpower problem. It's not like you can say, oh, I'm not going to check the news, right? It's a nervous system problem. Remember that stress cascade we talked about last week? The alarm fires when that stress cascade starts, right? The cortisol starts to build and then the reactivation. So every time you re-engage with a stressor, with the media, with the news, you start a new alarm again on top of the one that's already active. And scrolling is that reactivation. Every headline, every comment section, every notification, that starts a new alarm. It initiates a new phase 1 of that stress cascade we talked about before the last one has even cleared. So again, this is not a willpower thing, right? You're not weak for not being able to stop scrolling. Your nervous system is actually doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's scanning for threats, right? The problem is the threats never stop coming. And so you're always on high alert. You're always in this anxiety spiral, in this stress cascade. And on top of that, if you're in midlife, perimenopause or menopause, your brakes are already worn out and your thermostat is already more sensitive. We've talked about this in the past few weeks. So then your system is even more vulnerable to this stress cascade. So that news just fires the alarm to an already sensitive system.
Right. I mean, I think we can all relate to this. And in Ayurveda, there's really a concept that explains this, I think. It's called ahara. It's food and nourishment. But it doesn't just mean what you eat. It means all the food, everything you take in through all of your senses. What you see, what you hear, what you read, what you scroll through at midnight when you can't sleep. That's all food for your mind and your nervous system. And just like the wrong food creates toxins in your gut, the wrong sensory input creates what we call toxins or ama in the mind, mental toxins. And like Avanti said, the reason you keep doing it isn't because you're foolish or you're weak. It's because that pull is actually neurochemical.
Yeah, I think this is such an important thing to just pause for a moment because everything is food, right? I think this is such an important concept, right? It's very important in Ayurveda that everything is food that you take in, right? Like you said. And I think the other thing that's really important is that, we often think about toxins as being toxins coming from food and, what we're eating and drinking. But toxins are also in the mind, right? Mental, emotional toxins. And that's what we're really sort of getting at. Because I don't think that everyone always thinks about the mental and emotional toxins that are being created by our environment, by the things we're taking in. So that's really what we're kind of getting at this week, right? And, the research really backs this up. Doom scrolling predicts higher levels of anxiety, depression, and something that's called existential worry. Anxiety is both a cause and a consequence of scrolling. That's the hardest part of this. So you scroll because you're anxious, and then scrolling makes you more anxious. It's a closed loop that just keeps going round and round. And the physical effects are real. They're real. This chronic news overconsumption is linked to headaches, muscle tension, difficulty sleeping, elevated blood pressure, right? All of those things are, can be a consequence of this media intake that we have, especially in the world that we're living in right now. So really, there's two things that are happening. You've got biology, right? Your biology of perimenopause and menopause, and you've got the inputs that are coming in from the media and the scrolling.
Right. And I think it's also important to pause, Avanti, and make sure that our listeners know that what we're not saying is to stop watching or listening to the news or reading the news. You need to pay attention. The world needs you to pay attention and be informed. We need you to show up. But what we're saying is how you consume that information matters as much as what you consume. So there's a difference, like I said in the very beginning, between being informed and being consumed. Informed means you just take in what you need, you process it, and you have the capacity to respond. Maybe it means that you organize or call your congressperson or you write a letter of opinion. All the ways that we might want to respond. But being consumed means that same information's taking us over and we're so overwhelmed that we don't actually do any of the things that we know we want to do. And so, to be a better citizen in this world, we need a resource nervous system, not a dysregulated one. And unfortunately, the way that news consumption at its ever fast-paced, constant, and scrolling is set up, it's set up to dysregulate us. So, we know that studies show that checking in once or twice a day instead of every hour is linked to lower anxiety and better emotional regulation. That's a same person who cares, but knows how to consume what they need to know.
Exactly. And here's what, we should mention also is that your dosha, your biology, your specific constitution determines how you process all of these inputs, right? All this sensory information that's coming in through all 5 of your senses. So that means that your dosha actually determines your vulnerability and your response, sort of your natural response to media. So one woman might scroll compulsively to seek certainty, to just feel more in control. But every headline adds more uncertainty to that woman, right? Another woman might turn the news into a personal crusade, arguing with strangers online until she's burned out. Another might use scrolling to numb out, not seeking information, but just to avoid feeling. And again, this is not a willpower thing, okay? This is just the way everything is set up and your nervous system is actually reacting. So the same screen, the same news cycle, but a completely different nervous system response based on your dosha. And this week, if you're part of the paid subscription, your dosha-specific episode actually gives you a specific media protocol, how to consume news for your constitution, for your biology. It's not just a generic, just stop scrolling or, limit your screen time. This is a personalized sensory prescription that's based on how your body and mind actually processes information.
Right. Because everything we just talked about, the scrolling loop, the or the toxins, the 2 fires, the input and the biology, that's the science. It's the same for everyone. But the prescription isn't, because your dosha determines why you scroll and what it's doing to your nervous system and what to do instead. So if what we described today, that loop of scrolling and anxiety and more scrolling, really resonates for you, this week would be a great week to subscribe to have your personalized prescription. And you can do that in the show notes. Okay, friends, that's your weekly Health RX for this week. Next week is the final week in the Mood series, and we'll be reflecting on what shifted and answering your real questions directly. Until then, be well.
Thanks for listening to the Weekly Health RX by Arvasi. Be sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen so you never miss your weekly prescription.
And make sure to take the Arvasi Dosha Data Assessment at myarvasi.com, linked in the show notes, so you can unlock your biology and get your own personalized weekly prescription.